Yo, 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 what's going on? It's your boy CD Rome back in live effect. This is Watching There, the podcast. So excited to talk about the NBA. We're in the thick of the playoffs right now. Four teams left. Four teams left. So me and the good fellas, we about to talk about the last round of conference semis. Talk about the last couple matchups that a bunch of good game sevens, bunch of injuries. It's just a bunch of stuff to talk about. So we appreciate you coming in, inviting us into your onto your phone or your device or your mobile, whatever you listen to us or watch us on YouTube or Spotify, Amazon, and a plethora of different audios that you can find the podcast on. So without further ado, we got my main man, producer Dave. What's happening? New York, New York.
Yeah, well, at least the Yankees are doing well.
Hey, Yankees still in effect. Yeah,
Yeah, Yankees
we
still in
also
effect,
got
man. But no, it was a good. Well, we're gonna get to it, but I'm happy to be here, and let's get started, man. Let's get it popping.
yeah. What's up? Hoop lover in the building as well. Hoop love, what's happening, brother?
What's up, baby? Good to
Yeah,
see y'all again. Good to be
yes, sir.
here. Action-packed few weeks of basketball, so we got a lot to get into.
Action packed, man, to say the least. So we're gonna jump right into it, man. So I got to start with the defending champions, man. The Denver Nuggets went down 4-3 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, which I'll be honest, my bracket had the Nuggets winning the whole thing. So my bracket is now shot. So I mean, but what from your vantage point, your viewpoint, what went let's start with the Nuggets. Like let's start with the defending champions. I think I think most people would have thought that before the playoffs started, I think everybody would have thought that this team would have been at least conference finals. So what went wrong? I'm start with Hoop Level. What went wrong with the Nuggets?
I think they just ran into a team that where the matchups just weren't favorable for the most part. I mean, obviously with Jokic, that's a mismatch for anybody. He played well. Jamal Murray played pretty well for most of the series. So I don't know there's so much what went wrong. I think it's just that you just got to tip your hat to Minnesota. I had the Nuggets winning in 7 games, and I did think I did have them winning the championship as well. So you just have to again you have to tip your hat. I think the way the series started, kind of if Denver could have got 1 game at home, I think to start the series it probably tilts the momentum. But I think they gave Minnesota a lot of confidence dropping those first 2 games.
Yeah.
And just the matchups were really interesting to see how they developed over the course of that series. And Minnesota's just really good. And I think the loss, you had some losses of like Bruce Brown from last year's team. I think that would have helped them. And I think there's one more guy, but for the most part, it was really evenly matched series for the most part. I just think I wasn't shocked that Minnesota won necessarily.
Yeah. What do you think, David? What do you think went wrong there?
Well, for starters, I think the Murray not being able to play like he did last year really hurt the team. Now you were depending a lot on uh on Jokic to pretty much carry the load, and he was able to at some points able to do that, but you still need Murray to come through, right? He's at the end of the game, he's the big shot. He's the one that's making the big shots, and he wasn't doing that in this series. And then Michael Porter Jr. was one person that I thought that he had to play. He had to play well in order for them to have a chance. But he wasn't. He wasn't shooting. He wasn't making the shots. He was actually for a couple of games. He was actually benched over Braun. Can't remember his first name, but he
Christian.
was Braun was playing big time. I mean, he was playing some good defense. So I thought at first when they went up three, I actually thought, hey man, the Nuggets, I think they're gonna pull it. They're gonna go ahead and win the series because the way they were playing, I thought that they had it in the bag. But Carl Anthony Towns, bro. As a Knick fan, Knicks fans always want the guy from New York and all that, and being that he's from Jersey, you know, a lot of people want him to come to the Knicks, but a lot of people said no, he's another player that doesn't show up in the playoffs, but he's totally changed that this year. I mean, especially against the Nuggets and that game 7, final game of the series. I mean, he came through for the Timberwolves. So if I was to give the game ball to somebody, and the reason why the Timberwolves are in the Western Conference Finals, it's got to be Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, he played out of his mind.
Yeah, yeah, which is big. I think we were having a conversation about Karl Anthony Towns on previous episodes. I can't remember who was, really. I think, matter of fact, they were saying that Karl Anthony Towns was better than Anthony Davis, which I still can't give him that. But I mean, he has been, he even before, before he went down with the injury, I think he has been, playing pretty good. So I think that from my point of view, like a bunch of things went wrong with the Nuggets. Number one is that they're not as deep as what they were. I think Brandon kind of mentioned a little bit, like, the loss of Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. I mean, because if you look at it, especially in game 7, Jokic didn't sit down at all. Like, they couldn't even afford to sit him down. And same thing with Jamal Murray. He barely sat down. I mean, he really had to, Michael Malone had to really, like, I mean, outside of I think the guy's last name is Brown. I can't think of his first name.
Christian
Yeah,
Brown.
Christian Brown and Reggie Jackson. I mean, they had like a 7-man rotation and that was it. And I think you mentioned Michael Porter Jr. They really took him out the game. LeBron talked about it on the Mind Your Game podcast. He said that the person that really killed them was Michael Porter Jr. When he's hitting shots, I mean, you get him knocking down shots, and because Jamal Murray is going to do what he do, and of course Jokic did what he did. But when they took him out the game, and they just said, "Hey, Jokic is going to have to beat us," they made it very hard for Jamal Murray. And I mean, this is the kicker though. You think that, especially being in the Mile High in Denver, you think that home court would mean something, but they lost 3 games at home. They lost the first 2 games, and they lost, the game 7 on their home court. So I think there's a lot of reflection to kind of look at them, especially with me thinking that they were going to, possibly repeat. You got a 3-time MVP on the team. I'm gonna get to the Timberwolves in a second, but as far as the Nuggets, what do they do? How do they rebound? How do they, dust this off their shoulder next season? What do they need to do to the roster? Like, what do you feel like they need? We'll start with you, Dave.
Yeah, I was sort of surprised last year when at the beginning of the season when a lot of teams got better.
Yeah.
And they just stayed packed. They didn't really make any moves to
worse.
Right. So I was surprised that they didn't do anything even at the trade deadline. They didn't do anything to kind of bolster the bench or just get somebody that would make a difference. They just stayed. They felt like the horses they have were going to take them to the end of the race. Mm-hmm. But I honestly don't know where they go from here. They would have to, if it was me, I would, and I was the owner or the GM for the Denver Nuggets, I would shop Murray and see if there's anything out there that I can get for him.
Oh man, I don't know.
I mean, those injuries, I don't know if he's going to come back. He's ever going to be the same prior to the injuries that he sustained last year and this year. So if that's the only chip that I have besides Michael Porter Jr. And I don't know if he's going to really get you anything out there on the market. But if I was really serious about making this team better, I would have to definitely look into seeing what the market looks like for Murray.
I would probably take the opposite route. It's a few days removed from it. It's easy to overreact and say, you need to make a lot of wholesale changes to the roster. I don't know that that's really the case. I think that, again, it's more about Minnesota being really good, and the matchups really, because they had a lot of long, athletic perimeter defenders and guys that could switch on to Jokic. You had Naz Reid that's a sixth man of the year. He's a center that would require Jokic to have to step out and guard him. He can kind of play all over the court, as does Karl-Anthony Towns. Gobert obviously is not going to be scary on offense, but defensively, he's just another big body that you have. Jokic didn't have to face that last year. He's playing Bam Adebayo, who is an excellent defender in his own right, but he's just not big enough to deal with Jokic. And so I think the matchup was really just a bad one for Denver. I really don't think it's feasible to look at trading Jamal Murray. I don't know that you trade Michael Porter. They just gave him like $100 million contract extension. I think you need him. Jamal Murray, if I were going to make a change, it would be maybe a backup point guard, true point guard that can let Jamal Murray play off the ball a little bit more. I think Anthony Edwards kind of hounding him all series, and him handling the ball, having to make big shots. And not to mention, remember how hard he had to play in the Lakers series to he hit some big shots in that series. And so he was injured. I think it was like his quad or his hamstring or something like that. So I think that you need to get somebody maybe to allow him to play a little more freely.
Yeah.
Without the ball in his hands.
Yeah, their roster as presently constructed, you got Jamal Murray, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Nikola. Off the bench, you got Christian Brown, Justin Holiday, Reggie Jackson. I mean, you just don't got a lot coming off the bench, man. DeAndre Jordan. I think that if you can, if it's me, I wouldn't necessarily trade Jamal Murray. I would see if I can just bolster this bench, because at the end of the day, you kind of hit on the head. When you were talking, I thought like, hey, Styles makes fights, and they just ran. This is not a good team for them to run into. A young, long, athletic team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, like this just was not a good matchup for the Denver Nuggets. And I feel like if it was, they could have probably went against the Mavericks and actually probably beat them in 6 games probably. But it's just like this matchup is just not a good one. And as you mentioned, without having a bench or some guys coming off the bench that could, bring some type of energy, defense, somebody you can rely on, knock down some shots. I just didn't think they had enough compared to the Timberwolves. Which let's talk about the Timberwolves real quick. I got to give them
real quick before you go to the Timberwolves. Let me ask you a question. So you're the Denver Nuggets general manager, right? And I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers general manager, and I come to you and say, hey, Donovan Mitchell, I have him available. I can do a sign and trade. You give me Murray, I give you Mitchell. What do you say to that?
I'm not as big a fan of
Jokic doesn't need the ball. Jokic can play. He can be the point guard. You just need to score.
I'm not as big. I think you have essentially. They're essentially the same player. Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell. I take Jamal Murray on any day that ends in Y over Donovan Mitchell.
No.
Donovan Mitchell is not. I like him, but he's not worth trading Jamal Murray for. He's just not. You're still going to deal with the same amount of injuries. He's the same type of player, and he doesn't move as freely without the ball as Jamal Murray does. He wouldn't even work that well because
I don't need that. I have Jokic.
What made them great is that what made them champions is the way that Jamal Murray and Jokic played off of each other.
No, but I feel like there was lack of offense. The only offense in this series was coming from Jokic, and nobody else really. Nobody else. They didn't have anybody else.
This series, sure, but
if I would have had Donovan Mitchell in this series, I'm pretty sure they would have. Donovan Mitchell was scoring 40 in Cleveland with
Yeah,
nobody else.
but that's Jamal Murray would do the exact same thing if he didn't have Jokic.
This
I
year,
don't.
No.
Jokic.
no.
Donovan Mitchell does not make you. Donovan Mitchell doesn't make you better. He doesn't.
Okay, let me tell you something.
You can say it. You can say it every which way you want, but Donovan Mitchell is not the player Jamal Murray is.
I hear you. Donovan Mitchell is a 26, 27 points per game scorer, right?
He is.
And Jamal Murray at best, probably talking if he wanted to go gunning, probably in a regular season 22, 23. And it's the consistency part with Jamal Murray. Like that's the reason why in the playoffs, everybody's like, oh man, Jamal Murray, the playoffs, man, he just turned to a different animal because now you got a less sample size of what he's doing. Like Donovan Mitchell is doing this consistently on an 82-game regular season. And I feel like he just, I mean, to me, this is me personally. He's just
when's the last
more polished, better player, better scorer. I mean, I'm sorry. Now, don't get me wrong, because to me, if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm not making that trade for Jamal Murray because Jamal Murray actually misses more games and than Donovan Mitchell. And not to mention, I'm going to need Jamal and you're going to need to send me something else. Like, that's how I feel about Donovan Mitchell. Like, that's how
if I'm Denver, I don't want Donovan Mitchell.
I mean,
what has Donovan Mitchell actually done? Donovan Mitchell's the cute girl that everybody seems to love every prime season, but what does he actually do? And I'm not hating on Donovan Mitchell, but I'm just looking at his track record. It's like, what does he give me? He's not now. If it's somebody like the Lakers, sure. I think obviously he's an obvious upgrade over anybody that you have at the two guard. At the two guard, he's a two guard.
LeBron needs the ball. You can't have
no. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, if you're going to try to upgrade your roster, a team like the Lakers, who is in drastic need of another scorer, that would be somebody who would probably go after. I'm not saying it's even a good matchup. I mean, a good roster move for them. What I'm saying is they're in the shape that they probably need to look at that. What I'm saying is Denver is not desperate enough to do that at this point. They lost the series. They won a championship last year. So you're getting a guy that's never won anything. What's the farthest Donovan Mitchell's gotten? The second round of the playoffs? They barely beat Orlando.
When Dallas won that
Orlando.
When Dallas won that championship, they never came ever even close to this year when they're in the finals. This could be Dallas all over again. They won one chip and they didn't come back. They didn't come back again until
that's we're talking about two different things. We're talking about what Denver needs to do to get better.
They need to add.
I just don't know that Donovan Mitchell.
They need to add some offense. That's what I believe.
I think that I wouldn't. This is where I understand where David's coming from because I think that Donovan Mitchell to me is an upgrade, but I wouldn't make the deal either just because of. I would just say like we just lost in a game 7 on our home court. That's on us, but we need more. Like we need to give Jamal Murray, Jokic more help off the bench. Because I feel like the fit with Aaron Gordon, I feel like it really fits. They got chemistry.
Well, I like Aaron Gordon, yeah.
Yeah, all of them. They all fit to me. But it's like we just need to be able to say, all right, Jamal Murray, go sit down. Jokic, go sit down. Let me go buy you some minutes. Like, I think they need
that's what everybody's looking for, right? I mean,
but that's their problem.
What every team is looking for.
Yeah, their problem is their
players and you don't lose any production. Yeah, I mean
like the Lakers, like if you're talking the Lakers, like what
you can figure that out. You need to be a GM, say it. Hey, if you can figure that out, it's a lot. It's 30 NBA teams that will hire you today if you can figure that out. Because I'm looking at Denver $70 million over the cap right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a lot.
Yeah, to not win.
So they're kind of stuck. They're really kind of stuck. I don't know what they.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Alex Burke will be available.
Let me tell you something, man. But you know what's so crazy though?
Hey, Alex
What
Burke showed up for y'all.
what Jokic could have would have done to have like a Boogie Cousins coming off the bench, man? You know what I'm saying? Like somebody who could just come in and can still do give me some buckets from here and there. Like let me buy me 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, bro. And because what they got off the bench for their best player, they have nobody. I mean, they got DeAndre Jordan, but he's not even.
Yeah.
He didn't even take his warm-ups off the whole series. Like seriously, he didn't even take his shooting shirt off the
Like,
whole
bro,
series.
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, I think the Timberwolves though, like just focusing on Timberwolves, I think that they're primed to. I'm not going to talk about the next series yet, but as far as like what they did, they showed a lot of people. I give much credit to Anthony Edwards.
They
Um,
showed me because I didn't. They showed me.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you
It's,
weren't a believer,
it's-
then I mean, you got to be that now. So I think I can't wait to do our top 15 list next year because I'm sure Anthony Edwards gonna be on everybody list for sure after this. After
Maybe
this,
not mine.
you said what? I'm sorry.
Uh, he,
Oh, okay.
he,
I said,
needs,
no, you
he
not.
needs more from me.
Need more? Okay.
Yeah, he needs more from me.
We'll talk about it.
Word.
We'll talk about it. Let's move on to the next series, man. Let's go to the East Coast. East Coast. You know what? Celtics and Cavaliers. Not gonna really cover it. Not really that interesting to me. Donovan Mitchell went down. And I mean the Celtics were the superior team even with Donovan Mitchell on the floor. So with him being out, I just don't think that that was it wasn't a fair fight. I put it that way. But what we will talk about though, Pacers and Knicks. Um, Pacers and Knicks. That was that was a great series, by the way. Great series. Very, very two different teams. One team plays very fast paced, very quick. They want to get the ball up the court. They want to, and the other team is gritty. Even though they can speed the floor up a little bit, but they're a great half court offense. But the most important thing, they're just gritty. They're great. They have great defenders, and but of course fell short in a game 7. So I'm gonna kick it to you, David, man. You are our New York homer here, man. Like what happened with the Knicks?
So first thing I want to say before I say what happened is I want to thank the New York Knicks for such an incredible season we had. Goodness gracious, when Julius Randle went down, I was like, oh no. Well, first when Mitch went down, I was like, oh, this is not good. And then Julius Randle goes down, right? Oh, this is gonna be another one of them seasons that we end up the one year that you don't want to be in the lottery, we're gonna end up in the lottery.
Yep.
1 year where there's no definite great player in the draft I don't know if you guys feel that way, but I feel that way.
No,
And then they just
sucks.
started. They made trades. They made some trades that made some sense. They stayed under the cap, which is important. They signed guys that are tradable this season at the end of the season, and they made a big trade when they got OG because we needed. I love RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett would always be a Knick. I actually got his jersey, so I really like it. I really like the way he played, and I thought he was going to be a Knick forever, but apparently not. But OG was a great pickup. I mean, defensively way a lot better than RJ Barrett, and can actually shoot the three, corner three. So we have actually had a wing that we should have instead of drafting old boy, we should have drafted the kid from the Nets, Mikal Bridges.
Mm,
We didn't do that.
yeah.
And now we're hoping that we'll get to that, but we're hoping that the Nets will make him available and we can trade for him, but we'll see. But overall, I want to say thank you to the New York Knicks for such a great season. Josh Hart, what a gamer. DiVincenzo, oh my goodness. He learned a lot.
Crazy.
He learned a lot playing with Golden State Warriors. I mean, he showed he could shoot the three. Um, Deuce McBride, I mean, he was the one guy that was at the end of the bench, and he played big in this series. Fortunately, let me make it short. We ran out of horses, man. Too many injuries, too many minutes. I don't put it on Thibodeau. Thibodeau played who he had available.
Yeah.
They pundits keep saying that Thibodeau runs guys to the ground, but I think nowadays, I mean, these guys, man, they get treated like soft, man, like paper. I mean, any reason not to play, they'll take it. So I like guys that want to play. Josh Hart is that one guy that, hey man, he's even with that injury he had in Game 6, that stomach muscle injury, he still came, he still played. I didn't think he was going to play in Game 7. He played and he poured his heart out. OG tried to play. Thibodeau said, "No, you're going back to the bench. You don't look like you need to be out there. We want to make sure we have you for next season if we're able to sign him." But yeah, we ran out of horses, man. And one thing is the Knicks are a half court team. They like to play slow, and the same thing with the Nuggets, right? You said a fight of different. Sometimes you
Styles make
somebody
fights.
that is not the same style as you are.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what happened with the Pacers. The Pacers just they don't play no defense, but they can run the floor. I mean, they take a lot of shots and they can shoot the 3-ball. And that's even a great example, Game 7. I mean, they shot 67% from the floor. If a team shoots 67% from the floor, 9 times out of 10, they're going to win that game.
Yeah.
So, and to add on top of that, we had so many injuries. And then Jalen Brunson, boy, Jalen Brunson is the man. I know some people might not think that. That's him. He's that guy. He's proved it this year. He proved it last year. A lot of people didn't buy it last year. You got some people on TV talking crazy and saying that it was luck and this and that and fluke, and that Jalen Brunson is too short and this and that, and you can't win with Jalen Brunson. You can't win with a point guard. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I think the Knicks got a great future. We got some guys coming back next year, and hopefully we can find a way to trade Julius Randle away.
Chill out. Yeah.
But no, my hat's off to the Pacers, man. They shot the ball, and they just outplayed the Knicks, man. At the end of the day, man, they were the better team. So my hat's off to them.
So I'm gonna say this, then I'm gonna kick it to B. Me just looking at this stats for the series. Jalen Brunson, just points. We're talking about points here. Average 29.7. Dante DiVincenzo average 22.7, OG 15.3, Alex Burke 14, Josh Hart 12, and then Miles McBride 10. So I mean, you're talking that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that, just from a points perspective, they were all in double digits. So if I'm looking at going into next year, I'm happy with what I saw. If I can get my guys healthy, Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, and I mean, I would feel pretty good as long as you can keep, as long as OG and all those guys too. I'll be pretty darn ready to roll. What do you feel, B? What do you think went wrong, and where do you feel like they need to go to get better next year?
Well, I mean, I think David said it. I mean, injuries. I mean, people like to say, "Oh no, injuries don't matter." Anybody that's played basketball knows, you lose one guy, you can kind of, you kind of find some workarounds, you can adjust to it and still advance. I mean, once you get, 80% of your starting lineup injured, it's the NBA. I mean, even if you were the better team, at some point, the talent level is too high in the NBA to overcome that. So I think that that is the main reason they lost, because I mean it still went 7 games even with all the injuries. I think like David was saying too, I think Thibodeau, I think he earned that reputation of running guys in the ground. I don't think that's what happened here. I think a lot of times we think that, and like David said, these guys are treated, differently than they would have been 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But I think that's also because the money that these teams investing in these guys is so much more. It's exponentially higher than, I mean, what was Jordan's highest contract? $50 million?
No.
And I mean, you got guys, you got guys making $50 million, as 6 men that you don't even know their last name. So it's like, I don't know that was that. I think it was just injuries, and it's unfortunate. But it's one of those things. As far as what they needed to do to get better, they're in a pickle because it's like we could have gone to the Eastern Conference final. If you're the Knicks, you say we could have gone to the Eastern Conference Finals without Julius Randle, who up until this year was considered to be the Knicks' best player. I think that debate is over. If there was anybody that thought that, still now is up to him. Does he accept that he's not the best player on that team anymore? Is he going to be able to, find that his niche and find his groove on that team? Because he's still making, I think he's making $30 million next year.
Yeah.
So it's like it's precarious because it's like you don't want to tinker with it so much because you're right there on the cusp. But then again, it's like, man, we got a chance to really improve our roster. He's probably the first guy, that he's the big low hanging fruit there because he's making a lot of money and he's injured, and you seem to be better without him. So
yeah,
I don't. Yeah, that's another tough one of those things. You can answer that question, and you should probably be an executive in the NBA because that's one of those tough situations. I don't know. I don't know what they do there.
yeah.
Real quick, if you're able, that this like Julius Randle is automatically the expandable guy, right? He's the one guy that is no longer needed. He's the the guy that he's a
If you can
trade chip.
find somebody to take on if you can find somebody to take on his contract,
right?
that's the other
But
part.
he's the only available. He's the only really available trade chip you got. But you're not going to trade DiVincenzo. You're not going to trade Josh Hart. You're not going to trade Jake Brunson. So if you want to get better, he's the one that you're able to trade. And if you're able to get the Nets to with some picks, the Knicks got a bunch of first round picks. And this year alone, 2024, they got 2 first round picks. So number 24, number 25, right? So if you're able to put Randle and some 4 or 5 first round picks and say the Nets, here, you take Randle, let us give Mikal Bridges. I'm making that trade, and I mean, you can't even. I mean, I'm not even. I go over there and sign it right now, right? But
but
you gotta think about Harstein. You got Harstein. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right.
Yeah,
but he's up for a contract, and the way he played in the playoffs. I mean, for the Knicks,
he's gonna get paid.
He's gonna get paid, and the Knicks are gonna be over the cap. So you're not going to be able to sign one of them's got to go. Either Mitch is going to have to go, or Hartstein's going to have to go. But you can't have both. So you don't really have a lot room to unless you want to go over the cap. And if you want to do that, then that's fine. But that's what I say. Hey, if you can't find somebody that, like, the only person that I would trade for is Mikal Bridges. If I can't get Mikal Bridges, then I'm going for another let's run it back. And then we'll see what we can do next year.
Yeah.
But if I can't get Mikal, I think the Knicks need to stay pat and just make small trades like they did last year.
Yeah.
Randall's he's not
he's got 2. I think he got 2 more years in a player option, I believe, or 1 more year in a player option.
Yeah. Well, let's get Ace in. Hey, welcome to the show,
Hey, glad to be here, man. I apologize for being late. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. We got you.
Yeah, y'all making some good points, man. I'm actually with Hoop Lover and producer Dave. And I actually said this before the playoffs too. I actually thought that Julius Randle was holding the Knicks back. And I think that with that injury is actually kind of a blessing in disguise because it allows the Knicks to kind of see that, I don't want to say that they don't need Julius Randle, but they can use a different person or a different option in that space. Now, to answer or to just kind of respond to Dave's, I'm with you on the Mikal Bridges, but you guys have a lot of like 3-and-D already. So I don't know if that really fills the spot, but I do have a possible situation that I think could possibly happen. Julius Randle for Bam Adebayo. And the reason why I say that.
Oh my God! Oh, please speak it into existence.
And the only reason why I say that is because I think that the Heat may end up blowing that roster up. Jimmy Butler is injured all the time. They've been disappointing in the playoffs the last 2 seasons. I would say that they would probably look to try to, get something back for Bam. And I think Julius Randle could fit in down there with that Heat culture because he is a hard worker. He just doesn't fit in that system. So I don't know. But but the Knicks for sure, this was their opportunity because I think they could have they had a decent chance of beating the Celtics if they had made it to the conference
I
finals.
think they would have beaten the Celtics, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they're obviously I think they're coached better than the Celtics.
Right.
They probably don't have the top end talent that the Celtics has. Because outside of Jalen Brunson, you really don't have an elite player on that roster. You have a bunch of good players and then Jalen Brunson.
Right.
Boston has obviously, I mean, I personally think Jalen Brown's overrated, but that's a different story for a different day. But he's considered to be an elite basketball player in the NBA. Jason Tatum, you got Porzingis there. You got a lot of really good. I mean, Drew Holiday. So I think you have a better roster, top to bottom. But I do think that for whatever reason, Boston I just don't trust Boston. And until I see them actually hoist that trophy, I can't trust them. That's interesting. Now, Julius Randle has. I'm looking here. He has on this contract. He has a player option for 25-26, and then he's unrestricted free agent 26-27. I don't think there's any way on this planet or any other that Miami trades Bam Adebayo, especially not for Julius Randle. I can't see it.
Yeah,
I
don't think
Pat
Riley. I don't think Pat Riley would make the trade.
I can't see it.
Julius.
Okay, but let me ask you.
If you're the Knicks, you make that trade before they hang the phone up. I mean, it's like, of course.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Do you think that the Heat are actually going to keep that roster together though?
No, I think if anybody, Tyler Hero gets shipped out. What does he do? And he's making a boatload of cash.
Well, let me say this.
Awesome.
I've been wanting to put this on wax for a minute. Like, let me tell you something. The moment that Pat Riley went on there and told Jimmy shut up. I ain't no.
He put Jimmy Butler on notice too. Like you're not above the system here, bro. Like that's what he was.
But let me tell you though, like you say stuff like that, I'm pulling up. Like especially it seemed like Jimmy, he real direct. I'm pulling up. Let's have a conversation, Pat. Like if you don't need my services here, that's cool.
Sure.
See you.
Pat Riley's been around the NBA.
Okay, well, hold on, but
he knew what he was doing when he said.
Yeah, but let me ask you this though: if you're the New York Knicks, do you want Jimmy?
No,
man, I would love Jimmy. What do you? Bro, let me tell you.
I don't think. To me, Jimmy and Kawhi Leonard right now don't deliver in the playoffs, man.
Huh?
They're injured.
Okay.
No. All the time.
Okay, time out. Let's not be recency biased.
I don't know about Jimmy. I mean,
just went to the finals.
Last two,
Jimmy
drove them to the finals last year.
Hold on. Jimmy is how old?
About
33, 34.
He's old. He's up there.
Yeah. And
when I'm talking,
and what are we seeing with them? Injuries.
Yes.
So what do you do?
No, I mean, I like if I got a chance to get Jimmy Butler with the Knicks though, and you think about it like this, the Knicks have Jalen Brunson. They have a bunch of young pieces that Jimmy won't have that workload. Right now, Jimmy has a huge workload because of when he's not there, they're not good. Like, let's just keep it honest. Like, whenever he's not playing, they're not good. They're not even a playoff team almost when he's not there. And then when he does play, they're like 6, 7 seed. But because of the injuries, because you mentioned that because of the injuries, they're always at the bottom. And they always kind of got to work their way, back into it because he is always injured. So you do have to take that into consideration if you try to make a move for a guy like that. But if I'm the Knicks and I can get a Butler on this gritty, and plus it's Tibbs too, man. Come on, it's Tibbs. Tibbs make that move.
Yeah, but Tibbs don't believe in load management though.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Tibbs will run Jimmy into the ground even more.
No,
that's why I think Jimmy dealing with the injuries he got now.
But again, if you really think about it, though, what was the Knicks' main problem in this series? Injuries.
Yeah.
So I mean,
whole team is to the ground.
Are you any worse off injury wise? No, I don't. I don't think.
Yeah, but who you giving up? Who you giving up for Jimmy? It
Well,
ain't Julius Randle.
That's the question I'm going to ask. If you're not having to completely decimate your roster, then of course you get Jimmy, without question, because he's better than any two guards you have right now.
Right.
Right now. But if you got to trade DiVincenzo and Hart and all those guys, then no, you probably don't.
Yeah, you don't want to blow up your whole entire.
You don't want to completely blow up that roster.
Because I mentioned, all those guys, they were in double-digit scoring in that series, and I mean they played really great. I hate to kind of jump off the rail here, but I want to keep us moving. Because I want to talk about the Pacers too, man. So this is also unexpected, kind of like we talked about the Wolves. They're not in my bracket to be this far.
Bro, this is the worst, one of the worst teams to get to the conference finals.
Yeah. Or I'm not gonna say the worst team.
It's one of the worst teams in the last 5 years.
Because I would put this team in the same build as like the Hawks. Back in the day.
I know they're just slightly better than the Hawks.
Yeah, and Tyrese is the man. What really helped them, I think, is getting Pascal midway through the season. You got Miles Turner, who this series, Tyrese Halliburton averaged 21 points, and a bunch of I think a double with assists. Pascal averaged 20. Got Miles Turner 16. Nembhard 12. TJ off the bench 11.9. I mean, you got almost 7 guys that average almost in double digit. Obi Toppin actually, where did he come from? I mean, even Obi Toppin was hooping.
I know, but let's talk about what really helped them.
Yeah,
Injuries.
let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about
injuries
how
is what really helped.
Talk about Fluke.
Yeah.
Hey, because he was the Bucks. I mean, with the Bucks
first round, Giannis goes down, and then Damian Lillard misses 2 games.
Yeah,
Well, but let's not act like the Bucks were a shoe-in to win that series. Like we're forgetting the Bucks are awful all year long on defense. If they got to a scoring contest, they were never going to beat Indiana.
But they were they had gotten better. They had gotten better on defense in the second half of the season.
And Chris Middleton
so they went from 30. They went from 30th to 28. Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying they were better. They were better. They were better defense.
Against the top scoring offense in the league. That's not gonna matter.
Yeah.
Indiana had the top scoring offense in the league, and this is what I told y'all about Milwaukee. We're not gonna get off the subject. We're gonna stay on Indiana, but I told y'all about Milwaukee getting Dame Lillard. You're sacrificing defense, and that's exactly what happened. So I don't know that they were gonna beat. I don't know,
but when you don't have the best player at all in the entire series, I mean that's a huge
that's true. But my point is, I don't know if they would have beaten them with him. Is my point.
Okay,
as great as Giannis is, I don't know if they win that series anyway.
Okay, I mean, they lost the season series to him. So I mean, I understand. I mean, and that was a team that I was actually worried about as
for sure.
Yeah, that's a bad matchup. That's a bad matchup. A lot of teams.
I didn't want to see the Pacers first round.
Yeah,
I hate to jump forward again, guys, but for the sake of time, let's move forward. We're gonna go to Dallas. Dallas and the OKC Thunder. Dallas wins this series in 6 games. Shai Gilgeous, man, 32 points a game. That's just that in that series alone. 32 points a game, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Are we ready to say that Shai is the man, or are we not ready to say that Shai is the man? So I want to start with AC to just say, very surprised at this team, all year. Shai has been hooping. And so, but I think finally, the others kind of stepped up as well. But I felt like this is, from my bracket standpoint, I actually did have them losing to the Mavericks, just because I just felt like the Mavericks they got Luka and Kyrie, and this is I just want to hoop Kyrie. This is Kyrie I love to see. I don't want to, the 1-8. He ain't talking.
He do seem a lot. He do seem a lot more happy.
Yeah. So this is motivated. I gotta show people that I'm still that, Kyrie. So I did have the Mavericks beating them in 6 games. But what do you feel about OKC? Do you feel like this is going to be a Sacramento King, where they completely fall off the map next year, or do you feel like this is going to be the normal? They're going to be a team to be reckoned with for the next couple of years. Ace, you start kick us off.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think they're gonna be a team to be reckoned with. I think the difference between them and the Kings, they're a lot younger than the Kings. And we gotta realize too that this was Chet Holmgren, so this was his first year really in playing in the league. So he's gonna do nothing but get better. So I think OKC, I don't know if they'll be the number 1 seed next year, but this was their first time in the playoffs together, and it was kind of one of the reporters asked the Timberwolves about this, but sometimes you got to lose in order to win, and so I think that they for them to get a little taste of the playoffs, I think this ain't gonna do nothing but set up the hunger for them to try to get back. So I think OKC is definitely gonna be a top 3, 4 seed in the West for at least the next 2 or 3 years, as long as they keep the core together.
Yeah.
And great young defenders on that team too.
Yeah. What you think, Hoop?
Yeah, I mean, I think these guys they're so young. I think they're primed to be, if they can keep their core together, I think they're primed to be in the conversation every year. I think you just ran up against some guys that have been through a lot of playoff basketball, especially in Kyrie. And like we were saying a minute ago, he seems happier. He seems happier with his role. Seems free. And a lot of that probably is just due to maturity. I mean, you got to think of his life situation is different now. He's married. He's got a kid. Your perspective on things changes once you start a family. You have other things that you have to be concerned with other than just working. And so I think a lot of that has to do with, it's not just about me. And he's able to see, hey, it's not just about me. Other people can, be involved here and is happier. And it's not so much pressure on his shoulders and criticism. Luka gets to be the lightning rod for, the adulation, the criticism. He can just go out and play and still remind everybody who he is. He's got, I think it was just more experience versus inexperience a lot. But I don't know if I'm ready to say that Shai is the man. He's the man on that team, unquestioned. But I don't know if he's the guy. I mean, he's in the conversation. I mean, he put himself in the conversation. He's not one of my favorite players, but he's really, I mean, he's a great young guy. I mean, he's a great young player. So,
Yeah, I watched him, and I'm gonna kick Davis, but I watched Shai a lot this series more than anything because I didn't watch him a lot during the regular season. But just watching him in that series, I mean, you want to talk about a mid-range guy who can get to the way he scores. It's almost like I'll use Paul Pierce for instance. Paul Pierce was a spots guy. He knew how to get his body, get to his spot. And mid range, you just, I mean, just you can't. But Shai's doing this his body type is nowhere near Paul Pierce. Not as girthy, like very
he's
slim.
tall. Yeah.
But obviously, like he is a lot stronger than what he looks. He's very crafty, very shifty, and he keeps you off balance with it. And I mean, I don't know. He can score like this and be efficient because he's figured out where his spots are. I mean, I think he can do this. He just needs some more help. What do you think, Hoop? Not Hoop, excuse me, Dave. Excuse me, brother.
So you say Paul Pierce? I think he's more like he's a taller version of Jalen Brunson, in my opinion. They pretty much got the same game. They mid-range game. They pretty much got the same exact game. It's just I like Shai because of the height. Obviously, he's taller, so you have a better chance of you got a better player just because of height. You can't teach height, right? So, but I've been talking about Shai. You know me. I've been talking about Shai for a while now. I've been calling him one of the better players in the NBA, and I still think that. And I think he's going to take another step next year. So the only thing that I'm worried about with OKC is that they got a lot of young, good players, right? But they're not going to be able to keep all these players. As soon as that caps, they start to go into their next contract year, they're going to have to make some decisions. They cannot keep all of them. They're going to have to decide, and they're going to have to make some critical decisions and say, okay, who are we going to keep? Because in a couple of years from now, that team is not going to be the same. So their window of winning is.
But have they?
I'm going to say 2 years.
Have they learned from this? Or have they learned from what?
I believe so. I believe Chet. It's a man. He's big time. I mean, I like
front office. I mean, like front office, like they had a team like this with KD,
But
Russell.
let me.
And what happened?
No, I'm saying, but have they learned from that? Like, do you think
No,
they'll?
they don't have a
They
choice.
got
They don't have a
cheap.
choice.
They got cheap though. That's the problem. They got
They don't
Here's
have
the
a choice. It's not a big market. That's the thing. They can't make the decisions like the LA, the
Yes, they can.
Chicago's, the
Here's
Knicks.
the thing.
Jesus
They can't
Christ.
make
I'm a-
those. They have to let those guys go. They can't afford them.
I had feed or churches. Churches ain't open.
You know, churches ain't here
Nah,
no more.
you're not
Oh
muted,
Lord,
bro.
I'm sorry. My fault.
Yeah, no. To answer
The
that
more
question,
important topics is churches open.
with
Give me a
OKC, man,
pepper.
with OKC, bro. I honestly, I don't think
Oh,
it's not. There's nothing they can't do. They won't be able to keep that squad
Oh,
more than 2 years. They're gonna have to make decisions, or they're gonna have to spend and be one of those teams that over the cap. And I don't think that OKC is gonna do that.
I got a point to make about OKC. We forget how many draft picks and how much draft
That too.
equity that they have and that they always have. They are OKC is a small market, but they're one of the best run organizations in the NBA because they're never hamstrung by salary cap. They're never hamstrung by, oh, we don't have any draft picks. I would I would love to imagine where the Lakers would be today if they had the people running their organization that OKC has running its, because they have draft picks. So they'll never be in a situation where, oh man, they'll always be in those conversations every time there's a guy to pay. Okay, yeah, we got leverage. They always have leverage. They always seem to end up with multiple draft picks. So I'm not worried about how they're run and their ability to kind of compete and move pieces around to make sure they stay in that hunt, especially with a young core, because Shea and Chet probably aren't going anywhere. So I think everybody else around them, will be, expendable once it is determined, okay, we got to pay this guy, we're not going to pay this guy. Then they'll be able to jump out in the market and move pieces around. So
They didn't draft their best player. They didn't draft their best player. Their best player, it wasn't draft. They didn't draft their best player.
I know that, but the history of their organization shows that they know how to draft and develop talent.
They know how to draft and develop.
They know how to draft, develop, and they know how to work the trade market. They know how to work the free agent market.
But
they know what they're doing.
But hoop lover.
They know what they're doing.
What do they have to show for it?
Look what they did to the Clippers to get Shea Gilgeous out.
What do they have to show for it?
Nobody knew he was going to be this.
Well, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about their ability to put themselves in a conversation,
right?
Year after year, they'll be doing the same thing they've always done.
They put themselves in the conversation, right? And then what ends up happening? The talent that they develop,
and that's the same thing you say for about
end up winning for another franchise.
And that's the thing that we say about what 35% of the league.
No.
Yeah.
No. OKC should be more embarrassed than anything about the amount of talent that they had.
That's a different conversation.
That they allowed to walk.
What I'm saying.
Serge Ibaka, Jeff Green.
What did Serge Ibaka do after he left?
He won a chip.
He rode Kawhi's coattails, sure. Okay, he was decent. He was the same player in Toronto he was as he was in OKC. Let's keep it real.
But they didn't win with him. That's the problem. OKC has yet to.
They also had. They were also like their third year, JP, the same as these guys are.
But they let them walk because they got cheap. That's the problem.
Maybe so. I mean, hey, they make aggressive moves. Now they don't always work. I mean, they went and got Paul George. That was a disaster. I mean, that didn't work, but they went for it. I mean, they went for it.
I hate to say it was a disaster because they got Melo when they shouldn't have.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
They got who?
They got Melo when they shouldn't have. They should have got another piece. I appreciate Melo, but that was a horrible fit. That was a horrible fit for him.
I forgot about Melo.
I'm not gonna go there, but I disagree. I think that was a pretty good fit, by the way. I just think that Melo was over the hill. We're just gonna put it that way. Melo was over the hill. It was too late.
Made it bad.
2 years, 2 years, maybe 3 years earlier. 3 years earlier. Oh, we talking game. We talking game. But you know,
I just want to say too. I want to say really quickly. This entire playoffs has got to be an indictment on John Calipari. How bad of a coach he is. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Davis,
Mhm.
Cat,
Mhm.
Jamal Murray, all these
Mhm.
he coached, and he couldn't ever he won one championship out of all those, and that's just a tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero, all these guys, man, and this dude never could win. So that's just an indictment.
Mhm.
I'm not a Calipari fan.
Well,
So
that's not why he ain't. That's why he's not in Kentucky anymore.
yeah,
it's
but
true.
that's
Somebody-
his whole point being there is just to get those guys in, get them out.
Yeah. That's all.
He
Yeah.
ain't even concerned. He just hoping that these guys like Boogie, now Boogie always talk about Kentucky. So he goes back, shows love, probably donate money. So at the end of the day, the Kentucky, they're happy. Like they got a bunch of alumni that's coming back there to
Millionaires.
Yeah.
Millionaires.
They come
Millionaires.
back to break bread, man. Breaking bread. So anyway, so listen, I guess what would be your surprise? From a standpoint of who's left in the playoffs, what is the biggest surprise of the four that are still left in there?
Timberwolves.
Pacers.
Mm.
It's Pacers for me. Timberwolves, man. We knew the Timberwolves good. They're the 3rd seed in the West. Went to the playoffs 2 years prior. They were hungry. To me, the Pacers, man. Pacers have no prior experience in the playoffs with that roster. And then for them to be in the conference finals is wow.
Yeah. I had the Mavericks here. I had the Wolves losing last series, and then the Pacers. I had them losing first round. So yeah, I probably had to say the Pacers too. But I mean, I had them losing, of course, thinking that the Bucks would be
Healthy.
Hard series games. I had it in 7, maybe 6 or 7, but still the Bucks would have. Who you got? Who?
Yeah.
Ooh, I mean, it's to still be in it. I think the Pacers. Minnesota was a surprise only because they look so good, especially defensively. Like they've been the number 1 defensive team all year,
Right?
But to see it, those first that game 2 where Gobert was out, I never seen. I've been watching basketball a long time. I can't think of 2 or 3 better defensive games from a team that I can remember. I can't think of 3 better. They had them looking like we look at the time out there huffing, bro. They couldn't get the game. They couldn't get the ball over the half court. And these are the defending champs.
Yeah.
They couldn't get the ball over half court. They were dribbling off their foot. Jamal Murray spazzing out, throwing stuff on the like it was crazy. So
and the ref let them play too.
But I think the biggest surprise is probably Indiana still in it. Yeah. Minnesota's probably not a huge surprise.
Well, before you, I want to ask this question to Jay. I want to see what JP thinks, what Ace thinks about this. So I made a comment earlier when we were asking about the future. Where does the Denver Nuggets go from here? Right, next year.
Oh yeah.
And I made the comment. Okay, if you were the general manager of the Denver Nuggets, and I'm the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I know that Donovan Mitchell is not signing with me next year. He's going, so I got to get something for him. I can't be picky or choosy. I got to get something from him. So I call you as a Denver Nugget general manager, and I say, hey, I got an offer for you. I give you Donovan Mitchell for Jamal Murray. Would you take it?
You know what though? It's so crazy. I had a feeling when you mentioned that. I wouldn't. If I was the Cleveland Cavaliers, I wouldn't want Jamal Murray only because I already got a point guard. So that would be my only thing. Now, if I was the Denver Nuggets, I would want Jamal. I would get off of Jamal Murray. He's so inconsistent, and I would get who's the point guard they got right now?
Darius Garland.
Yeah. I would inquire about Darius Garland for Jamal Murray.
Yeah, and that's literally the same thing I said. I said that not the Darius Garland part, but Jamal Murray just so inconsistent in the
and he showed his butt too. Yeah, he showed his butt. Like he showed his colors, man.
He should have been suspended for that game 3.
Yeah, to me, it was just a bad taste in
Anthony
how
Towns
I viewed Jamal.
He could have slipped on that thing, and then what?
Yeah.
Then all the I'm sorry's in the world isn't going to change the fact that the guy's missing, out for the playoffs because you did something stupid twice.
Yeah.
Like
Twice.
that
That
even
was
in high
that was
school,
insane.
you would have got thrown out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did something
Yeah.
like that in high school.
Yeah.
And
To
you
not
talking
even
about
get a
millions
check
of
is
dollars.
crazy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would actually try to get off Jamal Murray myself. I would try to get an all-star.
I'm fine being in the minority on this. I'm just not. I just don't see it with Donovan Mitchell, man. He's
Donovan
When it-
nice, but
when he's nice,
it's
but
not
when
a
it
it's not an
counts.
upgrade. It's not a
That's my point.
that's not what the Nuggets need. The Nuggets now
That
if
was
you
my
get a
point. That was my
if you
entire
get-
point.
Yeah,
That's my
Darius
entire
No,
point.
no, but see, yours now, because see, in that instance, because I was saying the same thing. I wouldn't trade it just from a fit standpoint, but you were saying like Jamal Murray is just head and shoulders better than Donovan Mitchell, and that
No, what I mean is Jamal Murray is better for the Nuggets than Donovan Mitchell. He's not. Donovan Mitchell is not a markedly better player for the Nuggets than what Jamal Murray would be. Now, if I'm the Lakers, make it happen.
You just saying that
You-
because you want the Lakers to get him. That's
Exactly.
why you're saying that.
Well, that's part of it. This is true. I don't deny that, David. I don't deny that. But I'm saying for them, you need another scorer. You got to have somebody else. The Nuggets aren't so far away that they need to make a really drastic move like that. I don't think.
So
At least I
I'm
don't.
glad, because Ace wasn't here for that question. So Nuggets, defending champions, lost a tough game 7. Where do you go from here? Like, what if you're the GM? What are you looking to do with this team, this roster?
I think there is a couple of takes. They're very good. Don't get me wrong. But I do think it might be a time to maybe get some fresh blood in there. I would probably do some inquiries for like Michael Porter Jr. See what possibly you can get there. And I'm gonna tell you something too. This is a hot take,
No,
but
he
you
about
know,
Oh, boy.
it ain't gonna sound crazy.
Oh boy.
But for some
Yeah.
bench support, I would look and see maybe what Klay Thompson is looking like.
I
Maybe
thought
try
you
to
were gonna
add-
say Jokic. I thought you were gonna say
Oh,
Jokic.
no,
Oh no, Lord,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
no,
that's-
no. Jokic is
you
gonna
were gonna say
retire.
Jokic.
Nuggets. No. Jokic is gonna retire Nuggets. But Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, I would look at see what if there's some upgrades out there. But I would also look and see if I could add maybe a Klay Thompson or something to the depth. Maybe bring him off the bench.
Only-
After that, I think he'll be a nice piece.
he's
to
a
come off the
great,
bench for them.
yeah.
Man, what if
But-
Paul George said, "Hey, I'll come join you guys for the minimum." For the minimum.
I don't know if Paul George.
Well,
fits
yeah, for the
He's not
for
he's
the
not-
minimum, sure. If whoever's gonna come for the
He already
minimum, you
making
think.
When you have Jokic there, you can't have anybody that dribbles the ball a whole bunch.
Yeah, thank you.
And Paul George stops the ball.
Well, I mean,
Thank you.
especially if you're going to keep Jamal Murray. I mean, so
Yeah.
I think that I don't know. That's why Michael Porter.
Murray and Jokic have a really great
They do.
synergy, though. The way they play together,
Oh, for sure, that 2-man game
that-
is there. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, so I don't know.
yeah, and this is totally off the scale of where I was going. But I do want to ask because we're talking about pieces. Where and I got to ask where does DeMar DeRozan go next? Like where does he need to go next? Because I mean, we're talking about probably the last couple years, of his career. Like, where does he need to go to close this?
Lakers.
He needs to go back to Toronto, finish off where he started.
Lakers.
You know what though? I wouldn't mind. I honestly wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind if is he a free agent coming up this offseason?
I don't know.
I think so.
I was going to say,
I feel like he may got one more year, maybe a
man,
player option.
I wouldn't be mad to see maybe Chris Middleton for
I think he's.
DeMar DeRozan because they're the same type player.
They are.
Yeah,
one
just a little bit younger.
Yeah, but shoot, at least DeMar don't be.
It's a little bit healthy too. Yeah.
So, but anyway, fellas, hey, listen. Thank you guys for tuning in to Watching Narrative Podcast. We appreciate all the love, the support. Where you can find us. Number one, if you're watching us on YouTube, obviously you can find us on YouTube. But if you are an audio person, a listener, if you're in your car, you're driving, you don't got a chance to be looking at your phone, don't have a car accident, go find us on Spotify. Go find us on Amazon. Go find us on Google Podcasts. Go find us wherever you listen to your podcast. But we appreciate you. All the love and support. Watching Narrative. We out.